Happy Sunday. This is WagerTalk's last call. We're going to take you guys up until kickoff of week 13 of the NFL season. Crazy. Time flies when all the favorites and overs are cashing. We'll get to those jokes later on with John Murray from the Westgate Superbook, Steve Merrill from WagerTalk.com, Carmine Bianco from WagerTalk.com. But first, we're going to start off with Yanni the Greek, the Greek _gambler on your social channels. So if you guys are excited to get some gold, we're going to need some likes. We need you to hit the subscribe button. Your participation is mandatory on the show. The more questions you ask, the more questions we answer. VR coming in hot. You got the steam room going on after this today. Tell everybody what they can expect on the steam room, and how's your Sunday going so far? We got any last minute bets? Any gold confirmations?
Busy, Kelly. I've just been firing away all morning. NFL, nothing but NFL. Passed along a couple college basketball bets, but it's strictly NFL, going through every NFL game. I covered all the morning ones, just now going to cover the afternoon. I know they're asking for the Wong teasers. It's a little bit early. You're about 40 minutes too early, and here's the problem. Some of these lines are going to move, and when they're right on that number that it could be a Wong, can't be a Wong, we're going to wait, or more times than not pass. And here's what I mean. Look at the LA Rams. They're 2.5 in a lot of places, but the sharper books have them at 3. At 3, it's not workable. I would not tease the New Orleans Saints up unless I saw that at a handful of the sharper books, it's 2.5. So that's why we wait on those teasers. But if kickoff was right now, again, you're going to tease up the 1.5, 2.5, and you're going to tease down the 7.5, 8.5. It's that simple, but you got to wait till close to kickoff as possible because we want the most efficient line as possible. We're not trying to beat any kind of line move when it comes to the teasers. In fact, the opposite. We need the line to stabilize. We want it to be the closing number. That's what we want, because the closing number is the sharpest number. That's how they grade you at the sportsbook, if you're able to beat the close. Why? Because the close has all the information, at least that we have access to, factored into it. We know the weather. We know the suspensions. We know the injuries. We know what the wise guys like. We know what the public likes. We know how the bookmakers have moved the line all week. All that's baked into the cake by the time they kick off. So we want the sharpest number possible, because when the game lands near the number is when we cash our teasers. So to answer the teaser questions, about quarter of, look up there. If there's any 1.5, 2.5, you tease them up. If there's any 7.5, 8.5, you tease them down. And you got to make sure the sharper books, Pinnacle, Chris, here in Vegas, Circa, and Superbook, if those books have that Wong number, then you fire. But if you have a rogue 2.5, but the sharper books have 3, then you're just forcing a bet. You're trying to convince yourself that it's a Wong bet, but it's not. And you're hoping to be the product of good luck. You're not taking advantage of the teaser. So again, they're very strict rules, which is why we've been able to profit, 15, 20 units already just blindly betting these this season.
Yeah, if you guys need to be able to line shop, we have an odds service that just so happens to be free, wt.buzz/odds. Really quickly before we get to Titan CT question, VR, so you said wait until about a quarter of. As it stands for the 1 o'clock Eastern games, Patriots, Seahawks are available. And then I do have, as you mentioned, the Saints possibly in the afternoon slate, but that's pretty much about it. Yep. So 45 minutes from now, I will most likely be locking in the Patriots plus 8.5 and Seahawks plus 7.5. Do you only do 2-team teasers, or because there's nothing else for the afternoon slate, would you consider doing like an open-ended teaser if the Saints still fit? Tell me how you would do that, because there is nobody really to pair them with.
100%. If that's what I talk to my subscribers about all the time in the steam room. If you have access to open-end teasers, they're as powerful as they come, because now you never have to force anything. You never have to guess if that line's going to stay stable like that. Instead, you could wait. And if there's only that one afternoon game, that Sunday night game, that Monday night game, set up your teaser and look for that next one, even if you have to wait till the following week. That's okay. The goal is to place good bets. And if you locked in the first half of the bet as a good bet, then just wait to lock in the second half as a good bet. That's how I approach it, Kel. When I'm unable, if I don't have outs that give me the ability to do that, where I could open-end a teaser, open-end a parlay, those situations, then I'll just simply pass. I won't try to guess. I'll either leave it alone, or if I'm pretty sure that it's stable at that number, then I'll already bet it. If it's like a later game, but I could see that it's a wrong number, I'll tie it with an earlier game if I'm confident, at least 70-30, that it's going to stay stable. I'll take that chance because long-term you'll do well. But otherwise, I'm not going to mess with it. Just wait for the next week. Again, these are one of those edges in the NFL sports betting market that is just constant. But the goal is being selective, sticking to the rules, and being patient enough for long-term to play out. You'll profit with these pretty much every season, but it's not guaranteed because you won't place that many of them year in, year out.
All right, let's take a couple questions for the chat, and then we got to get VR back to the steam room. Greek, do you like the 49ers today? This is an interesting one because part of me considered using the Bills and Survivor, giving the weather and everything. We know that a storm blew through and there's a ton of snow on the ground. But given that the game is not until 8:20 Eastern tonight, I kind of thought, all right, the bad weather may subside. It's going to be cold, but the sun's been shining all day. Maybe this one was a little bit overblown. Even starting to see 6.5s now with the Niners up on the WagerTalk odds screen.
Well, you got Buffalo coming off their biggest win. Not only do they get more or less the revenge, they beat the top team in the AFC, arguably year in, year out over the last couple of years, and that's Kansas City. That's the team that they had to get past. They did that. And all of a sudden, you got a crippled 49ers team coming in on Sunday night in the road where the weather's not going to be favorable for them. So it looks as if the Bills appear to be the side, but the spread becomes the great equalizer when betting sports. And that's where I think this line's a little bit too high. I think they're factoring in how bad San Francisco looked coming off that loss last week where they got outscored by 28 points and they were only 6-point dogs, coupled with, again, the Buffalo win. And they didn't even get caught looking ahead. If you remember, they covered the game prior to that against Indianapolis, where sharps were lining up opposite, thinking they're looking ahead to Kansas City. That did not happen. But I do think they're primed for a letdown. Even though it's Sunday Night Football and it's prime time and you expect them to step up, I just think they're due for a pause. Because let's not forget, they played Miami and Kansas City in 2 of the last 3 weeks. Now you have a 49ers team. It's even out of conference. And like I said, they come in limping. San Francisco hasn't won a game since early November. I think they're getting too many points. I like the Niners plus the 6. The only thing that worries me is the line's moving against me. It's going up to 6.5. Now, we don't worry until it gets to 7. If it gets to 7, then you really got to worry about that San Francisco side because they're offering up more or less a middle opportunity and letting you get a key number on San Francisco. As long as it stays 6 and 6.5, we're good on the Niners. I like the Niners. The under also got bet under 44.5. I laid that for one of the groups I work with. I didn't bet it myself on top for my subscribers, but the under is also sharp in that one. But I think it was weather related earlier in the week. A couple unders got bet that were weather related.
Yeah, they're just getting ahead of the market, you think, VR on some of those types of things. Makes sense. All right, let's take one more question from the chat. Tyler wants to know any team totals in the game's first halves that stick out. VR has been giving out team totals in college basketball, college football. We even had some FCS yesterday. It's been a fun one.
I got the only one team total today, and it's a first half team total, so I wasn't able to give it out to subscribers. You're getting it right here because I did bet it. I bet on top of it as well. I thought it was a good bet. Under 10.5, first half, Indianapolis Colts. We bet it at minus 120. We bet it minus 130. Bet it at minus 135. So they really like that 10.5 under first half in the Colts. And real fast, couple sharp plays before I let you go. Atlanta plus the 1.5. You saw the Jets. Jets got sharp money. That's why they have gone to favorite now. Arizona, they picked off some of the 4s. That's why you're looking at 3.5, but it's not down to that key number, so be careful. Titans Commanders got steamed earlier in the week over. And what else can I give you? Ravens, that got bet earlier in the week. You saw little Eagles plus 3 take back later in the week. And Buccaneers, they laid the 5.5 there. Yeah, that's pretty much it in the NFL. A lot of good action. And again, the bowls are coming up. So really excited about that after championship weekend gets
Yeah,
over
we got to
with.
get through championship weekend first. And then, of course, we'll get some bowl games. VR, you can check him out every single Wednesday on the WagerTalk YouTube channel on the fabulous show called Bet On It, either the college football or NFL edition. You can also find him on the Steam Room right here on the WagerTalk YouTube channel. That's where he's going back to. Greek_gambler on all your social channels except TikTok. Greek_7 over there. He gives out tons of great information as well. His homepage, wt.buzz/VR on the wagertalk.com website. All right, we've got a special guest. Let's hope his microphone works. From the Westgate Superbook, behind the counter, Liverpool is up 1-0. He should be in a great mood. He promised me he was going to be happy today and he's going to not complain about the NFL. Is that accurate?
Hey, Kelly, can you hear me, kid?
Yes. We got John Murray.
Can you hear me,
This
Kelly?
is a win. This is a great win for us already here on a Sunday morning. I can hear John Murray, but I'm wondering if he can't hear me. Oh, my God.
I can kind of hear you, but I got sound on the game.
Oh,
What?
Liverpool's on. Okay. How about this? I'm just going to let you have the floor.
Yeah, I'm listening to the
You get
game, so I'm half listening to you.
You're killing me.
I
You're
don't know
killing me
what's wrong.
slowly. It's okay. Give me all of your big bets,
Okay.
biggest needs, anything for NFL Sunday.
Let's see. We need all the underdogs to cover. So we need. Here's what we're going to root for. We're going to root for Arizona against Minnesota. We're going to root for Carolina against Tampa Bay. We're going to root for Atlanta against the Chargers. And I can tell you guys for sure tonight, we're definitely going to be rooting for San Francisco against Buffalo.
Very, very interesting stuff. John Murray, too busy watching soccer per usual, but we love it. Anything really quickly, you guys just released your conference championship lines on the Superbook app. That was really cool to see. Actually, I'm surprised some of the lower numbers. Have you guys seen any sharp bets come in yet on those?
Yeah, we definitely have, Kelly. We took some sharp money right away on Georgia. So Georgia, they're +3 against Texas in the SEC championship game. And there's some wise guys on Clemson. Clemson against SMU in the ACC championship game. Kind of funny that Clemson could back its way into the college football playoff after that horrible loss yesterday, where they totally gave that game away to South Carolina. That was a terrible loss for them, but because of Syracuse beating Miami, they still have a chance to get into the college football playoff.
That is a wild predicament. I did not have a great day yesterday, but Art gave us some really good looks behind the counter to help me salvage things. Rob wants to know, what is the biggest sharp square divide today?
I'd have to go with Chargers and Falcons. That would be my answer to that question. The public is all over the Chargers. We've seen some sharp accounts take Atlanta. Really, really bad spot for the Chargers. Remember, they played on Monday Night Football. They lost to Baltimore. Now they're going to the East Coast to play an Atlanta team that's off their bye week. I would point to that game. That's one of our biggest needs at 10 a.m. We'll definitely need Atlanta against my favorite coach, Kelly. You know I love Jim Harbaugh. It's always tough for me to root against Coach Harbaugh, but we need Atlanta big in the
That's
morning.
not it. Today we're going to root against Coach Harbaugh. Tomorrow night, are we going to root against my Denver Broncos? I have one lone survivor left in a local pool, and I was going to use the Bills, and I thought I can't do it tonight. So I'm going to use Denver tomorrow night. Jameis Winston, my favorite quarterback. Should I be hedging some of my happiness?
Denver is one of the sharpest sides we've seen this week. So if you ask me what are the two sharpest sides I've seen in the NFL in terms of point spread betting, I would say Denver -5.5. That's why we're at -6.5 now for that game. And I would say, and I say this every week, and they always lose, the Jets. The Jets are another really sharp side. Denver and New York. And then I heard the Greek say on the previous segment he saw really sharp money on over in the Washington game. We did too. Washington, Tennessee got some really sharp money over 43.5, and then over 44.5 in the 49er game. Got some really sharp money. I thought that was interesting because people tend to look to bet the under in those weather games, but that game is going to be played on AstroTurf, and I'm not hearing a lot about wind. I don't think the weather is going to impact the total as much as people think. Sharp guys here are betting over 44.5 Sunday night football. I'm going to turn off my phone on Monday night football because I don't want to listen to you complain about the Bronco game.
Good call.
So just
Great call by
don't even contact me on Monday night, please.
And I'm going to leave you alone now so you can watch Liverpool. Thank you for coming in and giving us a look behind the counter. I don't know what their moniker is, but I think it's Go Reds. Does that sound right?
Yeah, you could say that. You could say you'll never walk alone. That would be a trademark for them.
Yeah, that sounds like a very hyper masculine slogan. I'm going to leave you to watching guys struggle to score for the rest of the second half while we watch it.
I hope nobody scores. I hope nobody scores for the rest of the second half because Liverpool's up 1-0. I hope there's no more goals. That would be terrific. Kelly, thank you for having me on the show. I'll talk to you this week.
John Murray, you guys can catch us Thursday night on the WagerTalk YouTube channel. That's right. We do a Kelly and Murray show where he is far less insufferable. I get it. NFL has been a grind for us all. That's why I made the jokes about only favorites and overs covering. We'll see some regression to that mean. Let's bring in Carmine Bianco, who's been having a great NFL season. Maybe if I just followed his plays, I wouldn't be so angry. He went 5-1 last week in the NFL. Last 30 days, up almost 28 units in all sports, currently sitting in second place at WagerTalk.com. And how are you doing in the circuit contest, Carm?
Pretty good. 34, 24 and 2. So 35 points, 8 out of first, which is tough with 6 weeks left to make up.
Ooh.
But only 3 points out of that cashing line, which is good. And Cal, in these tournaments, you can't have those 1-3 in 1 weeks. And I had a couple of those, and they hurt. You know what I mean? So a couple you can complain all you want in these ones when you lose a game by a point or so, but it's what it is. So I'd be happy getting into the top 100, which is a cashing spot in the Circa one. And if I can go a little further than that, even better.
Carmine has cashed a quarterly prize in the Circuit contest in previous years as well. All right, Carm, let's take some of these questions from the audience here. I know these guys want to get into some of these more obscure games that we haven't hit on, but everybody wants to keep talking about these damn Jets. Marco gave out the Jets on Bet on It. VR said the Jets were sharp. John Murray said the Jets were sharp. But Carmine, I got a little chalkboard behind me that says, I will not bet the Jets. I will not bet the Jets. I will not bet the Jets. Especially if I missed the number on the Jets.
Yeah, and that's the thing is, in the Circa contest, I do have Seattle, and I'm on the wrong side of that line move because on Wednesday Thursday morning when the lines came out, in this case, they came out on Wednesday because of the Thanksgiving Day games. Seattle was -1.5, and now it's -1.5 for the Jets. I'm one of those ones where with Seattle, Kel, I've been pretty good on my games with Seattle. I'm not a big fan of Geno Smith. I'm not sold on Geno Smith, but it seems like when I take him, he wins, and when I go against him, he loses. And I'm just wondering if, as Marco would say, this is the sandwich spot. They come off of 2 big divisional wins over San Fran and Arizona. They make the cross-country trip to play the Jets, and then have to travel back to the West Coast to play Arizona next week in Arizona. So is this a sandwich game? It possibly could be, but it is so hard for me to put any faith in the New York Jets. People keep betting them. They keep on losing. And if it ain't broke, don't fix it. I am just going to stick with Seattle. I'm not betting the game today because it's already in my contest. It's one of my plays. But I still lean to Seattle here to get the job done. I'm not sold on Aaron Rodgers. I'm sorry. A lot was expected when they picked up Devontae Adams. This team still looks the same. I can't back the Jets in this spot. I think there's better things you can do with your money than play this game at all.
I would agree. Let's take a few more questions. Titan CT, could the Cardinals shock the world? Well, of course they could, Titan CT. They're only a 3.5 point underdog. I actually like this Cardinals team better on the road. I don't know if I'm going to take them here. I got some 3.5s minus 120 in a couple of spots. We'll see. It's tough outs here in Florida, Carmine. But do you like the Cardinals plus the points? You think that Sam Darnold turned into a pumpkin? Talk to me about this game.
Listen, this is one that a lot of people might not share the same opinion of me on this game. But the cards were absolutely flat off that bye week against against Seattle. But if you're a Cards fan, they've been a good team this season in a division where nobody seems to want to win that division. 6-5 leads that division. I'm willing to give Kyler Murray, another chance here. Connor, obviously another chance here. And we talked about Minnesota. You look at the Vikings last 4 games, and it's been the Bears, Titans, Jags, Colts. I'm not sure this Minnesota team. A lot was expected. Not much was expected from them, but they've overachieved this season. And if you look at the last 3 or 4 games, Sam Darnold's starting to look like the Sam Darnold that played for the New York Jets. You're getting the hook here. If you can get the hook, I like Arizona plus 3.5 in this spot. And it wouldn't surprise me, to be honest with you, it wouldn't surprise me if they get the outright win here, even with that game at home. They travel well. We've seen this Arizona team go West Coast to East Coast and play well. This is another spot here off that flat performance last week. I think they bounce back here. I'm going to take Zona plus the points.
Yeah, I would have to agree. John Murray said they were going to need them, and that makes 2 of us, I guess. I'm going to be joining in. I have not had a great NFL season, as I've mentioned, Carm, but I did hit the Raiders on Friday, and part of me just said, just take a back seat and just be 1-0. Just have a winning NFL weekend. It's been since I went 5-0 in the Super Contest. That was week 7. So it's been a rough one. George Stanley wants to know about the Colts game. We just talked about the Seahawks. You answered that. Colts are taking on the New England Patriots. And boy, oh boy, do I need a win here from the New England Patriots for my season win total over, Carmine. This current line, looking at the WagerTalk odds screen, 2.5s, lots of 2s popping up, total 41.
You look at the Colts, and the Colts are similar to the Cincinnati Bengals heading into this weekend, which it seems are heading into today, which seems like this is a must win for a team that has a losing record that wants to make the playoffs. And if you look at them, after today's game, they have a game in Denver, which is arguably their toughest game left on the schedule, because then they play the Titans, the Giants, and the Jags. So it's getting by New England today, but we have seen New England many times over the last couple of years, even this year, play some very good defense at home. They do it much better at home. This is one of those games that, to me, is like a landmine. The Colts look like the obvious play, but if the Patriots' offensive line can protect Drake May, I think they've allowed 12 sacks in the last 4 games with them. They could spring the upset here. I could see it happening. This isn't one that I want to play on, Kel, on either side. But if there was a play on this game, I would probably take Drake May over half an interception, minus 130. He's thrown picks in his last 4 games. All 4 of them were starts. But if you look at him, he's getting more and more comfortable in that quarterback position. And it's just about the offensive line protecting him. So with that said, I think, again, this is one of those ones where I know people want a pick on either side, but I think there's better games on the card. I don't think this is the one. I'm going to take the Drake May over half INT minus 130 against this Colts team.
Against a good Colts defense. All right, let's talk about the game that my good friend Errol Epstein is at. Eagles, Ravens, really quickly before you get into it, Carmine, let everybody know what you've got over at wagertalk.com. And tell me about this game this evening, 4:25 Eastern start right now on the WagerTalk odds screen. Ravens are 3-point favorites. Total is 51.
Yeah, I know producer Dan is anxiously awaiting my opinion on his Eagles in tonight's game, but 3-4% plays up on the card today in the NFL. Last week's 3-pack of 4% plays, all one in hits. So we're going to look to continue that moving forward. This is one, Kel. I'm going to keep this short. I don't want to take a side in this one. It's sitting on 3, and it's sitting on 3 is so tough. The Eagles have, as far as fewest yards allowed per game, they are number 1 in the NFL. I think they're at something like 274 yards per game allowed. But this Baltimore team, I think, is one of the best, if not the best, and people are going to argue with me on this, in the AFC. Lamar Jackson. The problem with the Baltimore Ravens is their pass defense. I think they're 27th or 28th in passing yards allowed, but they outscore teams. And at home, their games are averaging 53.4 points per game in the 5 games at home. They're 4-1 at home. This could be a battle of the quarterback, a battle of the running backs, Henry and Saquon Barkley. My God, Saquon Barkley looks so good right now. Unfortunately, they don't give MVP awards to running backs, I've been told by Dan Alexander. I'm going to take the over 51 in this game and just hope it's an entertaining one.
Awesome stuff from Carmine. We appreciate him coming on Wager Talks last call. As I mentioned, he's been 5-1, coming off a 5-1 week, last 30 days, all sports, 27.29 units. Number 2, sitting in the Wager Talk leaderboard. Congratulations to Carmine. Make sure you guys are giving him a follow at Carmine WT on all your social networks. All right, taking us home here, Steve Merrill coming in hot. Going to answer all of our late breaking questions. Steve, we've got 29 minutes till kickoff. So if you guys are there and you're answering, or if you're asking questions, we will take it up until kickoff. If you stop asking questions, I'm going to go put in some last minute bets because there was a lot of needs and things that I wanted to get to as well. But give us some likes. That way we can get Steve Merrill with a big old smile on his face. Talk to me about Bengals, Steelers under 47.5.
Bengals, Steelers under 47.5. Well, I will say this. I've got a free play on the side, so I will tease that and tell everybody to go to my page in a side browser. Open up a second browser to get the side selection free in this game. But I'm definitely not in a hurry to bet any Bengal games under the total. I think this is an offense that every year starts very slow, and then, of course, we see them pick things up. That's been the case this season. They're kind of back into contention now. Although at 4-7, they pretty much have to win out, obviously, but they are playing better football than then after that 0 start. But actually, I will give the side away because I don't really like the total in this game. I do like the side. Pittsburgh +3 is my free play of the day. And don't forget, I put a free play up every day at WagerTalk.com. And it's always a last cut, a game that's just a bit outside from making the cut. And that is the Pittsburgh Steelers today. So I'll stay off the total in this one. I do like the side, though. Steelers at +3 or more, very key number. I do think we're getting the better defensive team here as an underdog in this game.
Awesome. Keep them coming, guys. More questions. Fast Eddie 69. Another total. Jags and Texans. Let me get that current total popped up here on the Wager Talk odds screen. Steve, this is not a game that I really had any interest in. I thought it was kind of cheap. Titans -3 on the road. 45.5 though. Any opinion there?
I'll talk a little bit about the total one side for a reason. That's because the Houston Texans are one of the most public side this week. And anybody that watched my Fade the Public video knows I talked about this game in there. We did see a line as high as 7 a week ago, but Trevor Lawrence was up.
We got to have Steve refresh. You know, one of these Sundays we're going to get through without having any technical issues. It's only on Sundays. I don't know what it is. Every single Sunday, we've got something. We got John Murray in with almost no issue. We got VR in just a couple minutes late, and we're just waiting for Steve Merrill to refresh. He's going to take all of your questions, guys. This is yeah, let's talk Survivor. We'll take the Survivor questions. Oof. Oof. If I have to pick, I'm going to be looking at not the Seahawks, not the Colts. I'm not using them in this spot. I do not have my Survivor spreadsheet for Circa anymore because I nuked it because I'm a poor sport. But this week, I'm going to use the Broncos on Monday night. I think it's the best spot to be able to use them for the rest of the season. I will say this. Looks like the number 1 pick is the Commanders over for Circa. And I can understand that. You don't assume this team's going to lose 2 in a row. I'm not so sure that team just hasn't fallen back down to earth just a touch, right? It's not that I like this Titans team, but Will Levis has been playing better over the last couple of weeks. So just err on the side of caution there. I liked that John told me a sharp group played the Broncos. So I said, all right, I'm going to go get away from the Bills and pivot with any potential weather plus Brock Purdy coming back for that Niners team. And as VR mentioned, the Bills coming off their Super Bowl against the Kansas City Chiefs. Let me check in with the producers. Do we have Steve Merrill back, or are we done for this beautiful Sunday?
But Roger Long has a question for you.
Okay,
do
Roger.
you ever play alt lines? He likes playing alt lines. Do you do much of that, Kelly?
Roger wants to know if I play alternative lines. You know what's funny? I don't, but I have a couple of buddies that is something they really enjoy, especially in college football. If they say, okay, Iowa should be a 14.5-point favorite and the line is 9, they will go out and seek out alternative lines, especially because some of these newer books, DraftKings, FanDuels, I mean, you can literally bet each line sequentially and just get more and more and more plus money the more points that you like against your favor. So I do not, but I do appreciate those that are very good at handicapping and able to do so. Gil wants to talk about Matthew Stafford and the Rams. Let's look at this line really quick here on the WagerTalk odds screen now that Steve is back. They are 3-point favorites at the New Orleans Saints this morning. But he wants to know more particularly your thoughts on Matthew Stafford over 261.5 passing yards.
Yeah, sorry about cutting out there. The powers that be didn't want me talking about Trevor Lawrence and company, but I was mentioning how the Jags had kind of quit in that Detroit game a few weeks ago when they gave up 7 straight touchdowns. You do have to worry about the mindset of these New Orleans Saints and what they've got left in the tank. And whenever you're worried about effort, I think the over is worth a look. I do look for the Rams to have a good game here. They've been a play-on team for me for several weeks. They're definitely healthier. Their offense, I think, is a little underrated now. You know, that Monday night game against the Dolphins a few weeks back, only 15 points, but they had 5 field goals. They were still moving the ball in that game. So I would not disagree with any LA Ram offensive props to the over. As far as the side in this game, of course, you mentioned that key number of -3, Kelly, and it is still 2.5 in a lot of spots. In fact, as you check the WagerTalk live odds screen, you'll see the consensus line is still -2.5, -20. But we are seeing some 3s start to pop. So if you like the Rams, you grab the -2.5 now. If you do like the Saints, you wait. This is a late kickoff at 4 Eastern. You might get a +3 by then.
Anything in regards to the Matthew Stafford passing? I know you're not one of the prop guys over at WagerTalk, but let's talk about the Saints defense. They have been exploitable from time to time this season. Do you think this is a spot to be looking at an over for Matthew Stafford?
Yeah. Once again, I don't trust the Saint defense. I'd be playing props over for Ram offensive players would be the only way I would look. So Stafford would definitely qualify in that category. I guess the only concern you have with passing yards specifically over is that if the Rams are ahead in this game and they win as they should as a 2.5 to 3-point favorite, maybe they back off and start running the ball more. But I'm looking for over props only with this Ram squad today.
Okay, perfect. Let's get some more questions here. Can we ask him about Arizona versus Minnesota? This is a game that Carmine and I touched on. John Murray said that they were going to need Arizona. Is that one of the teams that made your fade the public video this week, Steve?
Surprisingly, it didn't, Kelly. In fact, I talked about 6 games, one for Monday night, but 5 Sunday games out of, I believe, just 11 games. So about half these games made my fade the public, and the Cardinals-Vikings is not one of them. I mean, I would expect the sentiment is leaning Minnesota, but once again, the public always leans favorites mostly. This was nothing crazy. So I do feel a little bit safer taking Minnesota in this game for that reason. You know, there's so many different ways to use that public information, and everyone keeps pointing out to me, oh, the public's crushing it this year. And I was like, exactly. Because I haven't faded them in most of those games because these have been some really ugly underdogs that you got to take, such as Jacksonville today, as we just mentioned. And a lot of times earlier this season when Carolina was in tailspin. I do think one way to use the public information as a filter is not only to play decent teams, which we don't often get, but games that don't make the cut, you can be a little more confident playing favorites. And that actually would be Minnesota in this game. -3.5 obviously is a tricky number. We did briefly see some 3s juice this week. But I like Minnesota here. They're back at home, don't forget, for the first time in a month. They played 3 straight road games. And Arizona did not look good last week. I thought that game at Seattle would be higher scoring. I actually missed the over in that game. And whenever a team vastly underperforms, whether I have them or the total like I did last week, it's a red flag for me. And everyone looks for them just to bounce back. I don't think that's necessarily the case. Minnesota's the better team at home, laying a short number.
Very interesting there from Steve. Kelly, are you teasing New England and Seattle? Let me double check. Pretty close. It's 12:40. We'll keep an eye on it here. Let's see. Steve, have you done anything with teasers this year? VR's been very strict about his Wong teasers. Patriots +2 up over the 8. And Seattle. No. Seattle plus 7.5. Yep, absolutely. Seattle does fit. I'll join you on that. iTrap_6. Little teaser action for this morning. Steve, but have you done anything with teasers at all this year? I find it really interesting that I used to bet teasers like soon as the lines came out, and VR kind of put me on and said, hey, maybe we wait because the sharpest number is the closing line, and they have done drastically better this year.
Yeah, VR and I talked about that a couple months ago when I was guest hosting for you, Kelly, which I always appreciate. That is a great point because the closing line in the NFL is as sharp as any line in sports because you got a ton of action, sharps public, it's up all week. And you do want, obviously, the line to be accurate when you're playing teasers. That's the whole point of getting those extra 6 points is that the more accurate the point spread is, the more those extra points matter, especially when you're covering 3 and 7, the king of all numbers. The Patriots definitely qualify here. They're 2.5. I mean, we see a little 2.5 juice with Indianapolis, but it's not hitting 3. So, yeah, Patriots +8.5 looks like a good teaser. The Seattle Jets game you mentioned is interesting because that is a game that made my Fade the Public videos. An additional public lean on the Seattle. They were pick 'em at the time on Friday when I recorded the video. Now they're +1, 1.5, even a +2 at a sharper book. So I will say there's a sharp square divide in that Jets-Seahawks game. I do like the Jets minus the 1.5 as the point spread play. But once again, getting the Seahawks now up to 7.5 or more does make a good long-term mathematical teaser. Nothing wrong with that. But one of the reasons it's tricky to release them on WagerTalk.com is for the reasons you just mentioned. First of all, I need to get the plays up earlier for my clients, hundreds of clients. I need to get them up a day or two before. And the key to teasers is having that, knowing exactly where that line's going to close. But the other reason is some sports books, if you're not laying like -120 or less now, it's really not a long-term edge to play 6.2 team teasers. And when I started a couple of decades ago, we were getting even money on 6-point teasers. Now a lot of spots have -130, -140, and they've just priced people out of the market. But with that said, that shows you there's an edge, right? When the sports books are doing that, they're afraid of something. So at -120 or less, if you play these key numbers, there is still value with 2-team teasers.
Love it. Let's take a couple of more questions here. Is the Bills at 7 an overreaction from a bad 49ers loss and a Bills win over Kansas City? Yeah, I would like to say situationally, I think it is. But I found this really interesting, Steve. Line comes out at 6. We don't know if Purdy's playing or not. Then we get announced Purdy's playing, and now it's up to 6.5. I find that just very odd. As far as the injury report goes, we know that the Niners have been banged up for weeks. But at 7, are we starting to see 7s? Let me open up the WagerTalk odds screen because that is a very, very key number.
This line move does make sense, Kelly, if you look at it for a few reasons. First of all, this game made my public video. Believe it or not, this is one of the 3 most public games today on Sunday, tonight technically. But it is one of the 3 official Fade the Public plays, and that's the Buffalo Bills. They were -7 about 5 o'clock Eastern on Friday afternoon, early evening. Purdy was upgraded to questionable, but it looked like he was going to be the starter. And this line went from 7 down to 6 on Friday night. But Buffalo's a very public side, so the fact that we see it come back to 6.5 now on Sunday when the public is betting heavy is not a surprise. Also, I think any sharps that like Buffalo realize this line would go higher, so they're pushing it. So yes, you very well could see a 7 by kickoff. This is another example. If you like Buffalo, I think you've missed the -6. You grab the 6.5 now. You don't risk losing that key number. If you like San Fran, you definitely wait until 8:15 Eastern. If you haven't seen it by then, you might have to grab a 6.5. But I think you might find a +7 by tonight, as the Bills are a very public side. And I disagree with the public. This is one of those spots I think we could use it as a filter and fade the public. I mentioned playing quality teams. San Francisco's a quality team. I know everyone in Buffalo thinks Buffalo's the better team. But of all those ugly underdogs we've had over the weeks, the Saints, the Jags, the Panthers, right? The 49ers are still a quality team. And that's why fading public dogs is one of my favorite subsets. So I'll take San Francisco here, +6.5. Hopefully we can get a 7 by kickoff. And if you also look, Kelly, last week's loss, they didn't have Purdy, the blowout loss. Their other 10 games this season, they've only lost once by more than 6 points with Brock Purdy at quarterback. So this line is inflated. Look ahead was 3.5 a week ago. And this summer, the advanced line, even at the Westgate, probably was San Fran -2. So we are getting some value now with a fade the public play on San Francisco.
Very, very interesting. Haven't seen a ton of regression from that team with Brock Purdy under center. All right, Irish Dragon wants to know about Texans money line. You mentioned your Fade the Public video. So tell me what else you have up over at WagerTalk. You also have a free play up on your homepage. Steve, tell everybody where they can find you and what they can expect if they buy your premium plays.
Yeah, first of all, on this one, I mean, this was 3.5, 4. I did the Texans game when it was on the public video. Now it's -3 juiced. I'd much rather just play the -3 or less than the money line because you're getting that key number isn't hurting you anymore in this game. But once again, hard for me to make a case for Jacksonville on paper. But if you're going to fade the public here, you always look for a catalyst. And I do think the Jags having Trevor Lawrence back could be that catalyst. My concern, Kelly, is that Houston's lost 3 of their last 4. And I just don't think they overlooked this bad opponent. So that's what would keep it off my card here on Sunday afternoon. Speaking of my card on Sunday afternoon, this is actually my deepest and strongest Sunday NFL card of the season. I usually have maybe 2, sometimes 3 best bets on a Sunday. I've got 4 best bets this Sunday, and I've also got the Monday Night Football game locked and loaded tomorrow. So 5 best bets still go in the NFL for Sunday, Monday. And what a great time to try out the 7-day sampler. Gobble, gobble, eat it up because it is about to disappear. 7 days for $69, dude, and it's about to expire. So if you're looking to get on board a 7-day all access, not a bad time to start on Sunday. I've got 4 NFL best bets, Monday night game loaded, plus 7 days and nights of college and pro hoops. And oh yeah, you're getting next Saturday, all the way through next Saturday, college football. You're getting all the championship games. So this is honestly probably the best day to start a 7-day sampler, as you get 4 major sports for just $2.50 a sport per day for the next week. And that special price, $69, is about to expire. No promo code needed. Check it out right now. Steve Merrill, WagerTalk.com, and get there quicker with that shortcut on the screen, wt.buzz/SM.
All right, let's take a couple more questions from Steve Merrill and our lovely audience. Again, we appreciate you guys hanging out with us here each and every week because, well, we wouldn't be here without you. So give us a like, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Any more questions pop up on the screen, we will take them. If not, we will let Steve go. There we go. Steve, do you like the over in the Jags game? This is interesting. You mentioned your thoughts on the Jaguars as a whole. Go for it.
Yeah, I mentioned how Trevor Lawrence back at quarterback, the look-ahead line last week was 7, now it's 3. The look-ahead total was 42, it's now 45. And so the betting market is telling you he's worth a field goal or more on both the point spread and the total. Hard to disagree. And if you are concerned that the Jags have tossed the towel in the season, obviously Houston should move the ball offensively. The concern, though, is that Houston's still one of the best pass defenses in the NFL. I think it's pretty much priced where it should be. I would lean towards Jacksonville at 3.5 or more, which is currently available at DraftKings. A lot of 3s out there. There is still a 3.5 at DraftKings, but once again, you're betting on hope, just like the S&P. I don't buy in hope. I don't buy in hold. I like to have an edge. I would lean Jacksonville's side. Really nothing else in this game. I think there's just too much uncertainty.
Awesome. Steve Merrill, you are the best. I'm getting blown up from all of my friends in the chat that are not watching Last Call, asking for the biggest needs and some of the favorite bets from our handicappers. Too bad. So sad. You got to watch the show too. Again, we appreciate you guys every single Saturday and Sunday here up until kickoff. This is Wager Talk's Last Call. Good luck today, and we'll see you next week.